Simmons. Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hold in, Devontae.
Sure. Before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Football Friday right here on DSM Media, trending in the AM, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. We're live, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share, retweet, thumbs up, everything you can do to help promote this show and continue to grow it to the next level. I am Phil Stiefel, your host, with my man, Jason Voorhees, right here. We're live. We got lots to dive into today. But real quick, make sure you head over to the Facebook DSM page or the YouTube DSM page. It is the easiest way to get involved with the show because we're going to talk a lot of football today. If you want your voice heard, they're the two best places to get your voices heard on the air. I can put your comments up on the screen just like this. And, you know, we can react to what you have to say and we can address what you have to say as we talk football. We will save 15 minutes at the end of the show, talk a little bit of Sixers, because I do want to dive into last night's Sixers game and some of the things that some of the things that were happening before the game on TNT with Shaquille O'Neal and stuff like that and Ben Simmons. So lots to get into today. Sit back, enjoy a fantastic show. Again, we are brought to you as all shows on DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products, the GOAT in below-the-waist maintenance. Make sure you check them out. Manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM, the name of the network, DSM, at checkout. Get you 20% off, get you free shipping, and lets them know Team DSM sent you. Good morning, Jason. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's snowing out already.
I know. We weren't supposed to get snow till like 7 o'clock. I go to get in the shower, and it's already covering my windshield.
My normal opinion of the weather people is that they suck.
And they still do.
Yeah, they do. But, of course, I saw a thing, and it was like saying a blizzard. And I'm like, they're going to be wrong again. And then apparently it was supposed to only not start until 7 o'clock tonight. But now I'm looking out my window, and it's already covered on my street.
I'm looking out my window here. It looks like the flurries have stopped temporarily here. But, you know, yeah, we're going to be in for a doozy this weekend, I think. But on the bright side, it's going to be really cold today, tomorrow, Sunday. But by middle of next week, we have a chance to hit mid to upper 50s, maybe even 60s next week. So we're just going to completely flip the script, which means everyone's going to get the flu, you know, because they're going to be outside in shorts in 60-degree weather right after the snow. But, yeah, you know, it's going to be an interesting one the next couple days here. So, anyway, real quick, before we get into football, National Calendar Day. I love bringing these up. Some of them are funny. Some of them are stupid. But today has a special one, okay? Because I think this national day today is right up for Jason here. Today, I mean, we got some stupid ones. National Gift of the Ladybug Day, whatever. I don't, catch them, blow them away, and make a wish like other. I just smash them. National Fun at Work Day. Every day's fun when you're in retail, right, Jason?
Absolutely.
Right. But National Bigwig Day. That is you, Jason. You're the bigwig. Okay. Today is your day. Today is National Bigwig Day. So
really?
just so you. Yeah, today is National Big, and you're Mr. Big, so your Bigwig Day. Today's National Data Privacy Day, which means all our credit cards are getting hacked right now as we speak. National Blueberry Pancake Day and National Kazoo Day. But yes, today is National Bigwig and Fun at Work Day, right up your alley as a retail guy, as a big guy that you are right there. So yeah,
appreciate you, brother.
As soon as I saw that, I had my plan set to say that. As soon as I saw today was National Bigwig Day, knew it was right up your alley.
Always appreciate the shout out.
Gonna get you a shirt that says Bigwig on it, or a hat that says Bigwig on it. Yeah.
As long
anyway,
as it has the DSM emblem on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. You gotta have the DSM emblem on everything. All right. Football Friday. Championship weekend. You got the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game. We got the Bengals versus the Chiefs in Kansas City, and the 49ers traveling to LA to play the Rams. First question, Jason. Is it even remotely possible to have this weekend be as exciting as last weekend in football?
I think it's going to be tough to top last week. I mean, because to me, all 4 of the games were exciting. Like even the Tennessee game, like was to me exciting.
Absolutely.
Obviously lower scoring, but I do think it has the potential to be very good championship games, but I don't see it topping last week. No.
Yeah, I agree. But on the other side of it, I'm just kind of thinking like everybody got so hyped at how great last weekend was, and I'm not saying it wasn't. Last weekend was some of the best 4 games you've ever seen, but I think people are sleeping on how much entertainment, how much intrigue, and how many storylines actually there are to play out this weekend. So I mean, Sunday could turn into, just like last week was probably the best divisional round football we've ever seen. This could potentially be the best championship round football we've ever seen. Because you've got 2 teams with the Bengals and the Chiefs with elite quarterbacks going at it. In the 49ers and the Rams, you've got great defense and great culture going against an almost elite quarterback and all these elite weapons. What scenario is the best? Can you win and make the Super Bowl with what San Francisco has versus what the Rams have? So I think there's a lot of intrigue this weekend that could create some great football.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And I think a lot of don't mistake the fact that San Francisco, I think a lot of people are sleeping on San Francisco. The funny thing is they've beaten the Rams, I believe, 6 times in a row.
Something like that.
If I'm not mistaken. So obviously, if you're a numbers person or analytics, eventually that's going to run out. But the fact of the matter is, you got 2 teams that, although San Francisco might not be the high scoring offense and isn't the fancy name out of the 4 teams, I think you have a team that plays good on every front and every aspect of the game. I mean, they have great special teams. Their defense is superior. And their offense, like I said, is underrated. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, we've talked about it as far as him being the quote-unquote prototype system quarterback. Yeah. But Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not like he doesn't have any skill. And a lot of the way that the 49ers play, as far as their offensive style, lends itself to a game that could be a higher scoring game because you got Deebo Samuel who does everything. I mean, the guy runs the ball, he catches the ball, and he's an absolute beast. You got 2, you have a running back by committee, so to speak, somewhat like the Eagles. And you have, like I said, that defense that can get after the quarterback. So I agree with you that I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating how good this could be.
Yeah, absolutely. So George checking in. Good morning. Good afternoon to you. Rams, Bengals. I mean, honestly, I have my predictions and we'll save it for the end once we're done breaking down the two games. But there is a scenario in my head where all the different combinations of these 4 teams, I could give you a scenario, a game plan that works out, that any combination of those 4 teams could make the Super Bowl at this point. I really think it's that close. The first game, the Chiefs-Bengals game, obviously on paper as, a better, it's a 7-point line. It's the bigger of the spreads of the 2 games. Let's just talk about that game specifically for a little while. You got Joe Burrow in his 2nd year, already proving that he's got that elite arm talent, that elite talent. He's young, he's brass, he's got balls of steel. I mean, he's not fazed by anything. You got Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, 4 counting Joe Burrow, 4 offensive weapons, all under 25 years old. Okay, all these young, super talented guys going against the Chiefs. But let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes is not old. I mean, it feels like he's been in the league for 15 years, but he's still a pretty young guy. Tyreek Hill is still fairly young. They got young running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They have a young team. So you got the story of these young guys in Cincinnati going up against a guy that, in my opinion, could play in 10 Super Bowls in his career. If everything goes well, if health goes well, all that stuff goes well, I see Patrick Mahomes playing in a minimum of 10 Super Bowls in his career. And so you're going up against that. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and I know Mark, Mark's best friend, Andy Reid, one of the 5 greatest coaches in football. ever. Mark's bringing up a point here. Big Red going to underestimate the Bengals. It's going to be much closer. I think it's going to be much closer, Mark. Absolutely. So what side do you lean on? Is that youth good enough to compete with the Chiefs here?
I mean, I look at this game. To me, I honestly, I think, yes, the Chiefs have the slight edge as far as experience, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
I agree with your assessment on Mahomes. I think if there's any quarterback out of this elite young group, I would say Mahomes is probably the closest to being the heir apparent to Brady. I mean, obviously, that would be kind of sacrilegious to say this early, but I think he has the fact that they've already made the Super Bowl and the fact that he's already been, won a Super Bowl at such a young age lends itself to that ability. If he can continue being an elite quarterback, that could be the track. I mean, we saw a guy in Dan Marino back in the day who made the Super Bowl in his first season, his first full year, and he never made it back. But Dan Marino was also on a team that never really surrounded him with talent. Like the Chiefs are kind of loaded with talent. But with that being said, I look at the Bengals as a team that most definitely could win this game. If you just look at a couple weeks ago, I believe it was maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, the Bengals played the Chiefs. That was the game when Joe Burrow went off. He had like 400 yards passing. I think Jamar Chase had 200 and some yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they beat the Chiefs. Mahomes in that game, I believe, had 2 touchdowns and maybe 300 yards, but the Chiefs were not able to compete as far as in that game. Now, I'm not saying that's a regular season game, so playoffs are different, but the fact that the Bengals have already beaten the Chiefs this year, I mean, I think that just tells you all you need to know. I mean, Joe Burrow, you just said it. Like, I mean, look what he did with LSU. I mean, he's not afraid of the big stage. No. I believe that the Bengals, I don't know which way I'm leaning yet, but I would say that Chiefs get the slight edge as far as the experience, but I think the Bengals could be that team that, I don't want to say team of destiny, but, they're pretty loaded, man.
I want to go back to Mark's comment here. Big Red underestimating the Bengals. This is not the Andy Reid of 2005 or 2007 in Philly, or whatever year, 2002 when we underestimated the Buccaneers in the playoffs. This is a different Andy Reid. He's learned, he's gained experience and all. So I'm looking at the game logs for the Bengals defense, okay? And the Bengals have given up over 100 yards, including week 17 against Kansas City, rushing the ball 6 of the last 7 weeks. The only week they didn't was in Baltimore, week 16, but there was no Lamar Jackson and Baltimore's running game. I mean, I think they were on their 14th running back of the season by that point. So the key to the game for the Chiefs is Andy Reid realizing that the Bengals rush defense is pretty soft. It's pretty weak. Controlling. You talk about the yardage that the Chiefs gave up to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase the last time they played. It was 415 passing yards for Joe Burrow, 60 rushing yards for Joe Mixon and the rest of the team. So it's going to be up to Andy Reid. Look, I know to Patrick Mahomes is this elite passer. I know, you got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They all need to play factors in this game. But the key to winning this game for the Chiefs is Andy Reid realizing this, okay, and controlling the clock. I know, clock management, time management, Andy Reid, it's not something we're used to, but he's gotten better at it over the years. Not perfect, but better. Him controlling the clock, him running, him having a balanced running attack and keeping Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and that elite offense of the Bengals off the field. He already did it to an extent. I mean, he already saw that it worked the last time. I know the Bengals won the game, but he already did it once. So he just needs to take that up a notch so that, you keep Joe Burrow off the field.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you look at the playoffs, I always think that, you have to look at the team's health as well, too, and where they're at as far as that. I haven't heard the latest report, but I know Tyrann Mathieu had a concussion.
Yep.
If he's out, that really hurts the Chiefs defense. I mean, because he's a guy that kind of plays both ends. Like, stop, he's able to, he's a good cover safety, but he's also plays up. He's good against the run. So I think that would be a little concerning if I'm the Chiefs. If he's out. Looking at the Bengals, I don't really see any major injuries on the Bengals.
I got DraftKings up right now. This is actually one of the most healthy weekends of football we've had. None of the quarterbacks have any designation. There's only one of the top 10 running backs this weekend with a questionable tag, and it's Mitchell from the 49ers, but he's expected to play. The first wide receiver that's on the thing is Van Jefferson, and the next one is Morgan from Cincinnati. So we're talking about like way down the depth chart of injured guys. None of the tight ends are injured. So all 4 offenses this weekend. Mitchell practices. Maybe Matt. Maybe he's talking about Matt. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Just because if they don't practice in full, though, you could show up to practice and go through the walkthroughs, even if you're not cleared concussion protocol. You just can't take hits. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to protect him. But also, if he's ready to go, get him ready to go. I love the fact that everybody's healthy for the most part going into these games. So there's no excuses for either of these teams.
Yeah. Will the overtime excuse come into play?
Oh my God.
That's to be determined.
That was so overblown. I'm just telling you, so overblown. If you don't like the overtime rule, then stop the freaking team. Just stop them, Buffalo. Yeah, I already went way too far into that already.
Oh, I know. I just thought I would throw that in there.
But anyway, so you've got Bengals offense against the Chiefs defense. Who holds the advantage in that category there?
The Bengals offense against the Chiefs defense.
And then we'll flip-flop it and talk Chiefs offense versus Bengals defense.
Well, I'm definitely going Bengals offense over the Chiefs defense, because Chiefs defense down the stretch played a lot better, but the Chiefs are susceptible to the big play. And as I just mentioned earlier, Burrow went off 415 yards, and I think Chase had 200 as some of them, maybe 260. It was like insane. I don't have it up. I don't know if you have it on your.
No, I don't have all the details up. But anyway, look.
Yeah, it's the Bengals. The Bengals definitely hold the edge as far as the offense. I think it's kind of similar. I think the Chiefs offense holds the edge over the Bengals defense, although the Bengals defense is also kind of under the radar. They're pretty good.
It was 11 catches for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It was 260 yards.
266 and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, it's insane. Normally I'd be saying, you would think you'd be saying Joe Burrow in his second year in the league, kind of like, Jalen Hurts to an extent. He didn't play a full first season, didn't have a rookie season because he got hurt. He didn't have rookie offseason and camps and all that stuff. You would think he'd have, you'd be saying that his youth and his inexperience will catch up to him. His youth and inexperience will hold him back in this moment. But why do I feel like he doesn't scare me going into this big moment. And that's why I love teams that draft their elite players from the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the teams that are playing the big games in the big conferences in college year in and year out, because these guys are used to the big moment. And I'm leaning obviously towards a Chiefs victory this weekend. But it's not going to be because Joe Burrow, got nervous and couldn't handle the bright lights.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it numerous times, and I know a lot of people, obviously, we don't want to make this a Hurts discussion, but a lot of people bring that up, the fact that he is that kind of, as far as leadership, he might not have Joe Burrow's talent. We all get that. We admit that.
Right.
But he has the moxie. There's a lot to be said about that when it comes to big games. Like, Joe Burrow is absolutely the quarterback that you wouldn't want to bet against because he's done it on a big stage. He just did it last week in his first playoff game against Tennessee, who was, by the way, they won the bye. They were the best team as far as record in the AFC. I mean, to go as the away team and play the way they did obviously they didn't blow them out. They won 19-16, but they got it done. My thing with Joe Burrow is what makes him special and what makes this team special is this connection that he has with Jamar Chase. It I'm not going to, all right, I'm not, and I got crucified for saying this, but it reminds me, the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow connection reminds me of that same connection that Joe Montana had with Jerry Rice. Like, it's just, like, they're a match made in heaven, dude. Like, it's just, Jamar Chase is always open, and Joe Burrow's always able to get him the ball, even when he's not. Those two things together make that, no matter what the odds are, I would never bet against them. Because, and then, oh, by the way, you got T. Higgins and
Tyler Boyd,
and then Joe Mixon, and even the tight end who's come around at the end of the year, Uzma, CJ Uzma, or I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's why I just said CJ. I wasn't going to try to embarrass myself by saying his last name.
But yes, I mean, I absolutely see the Bengals being that team.
So what would you rather see after this game? Joe Burrow smoking a big fat cigar, celebrating a Super Bowl run, or Brittany and Lamar's brother celebrating on TikTok? I almost want to just root for Bengals just so we don't have to see that TikTok family anymore.
Well, I'm rooting for the Bengals, definitely. I mean, how can you not root for Joe Burrow? Like, it's just like and that's not to say that I can't stand Pat Mahomes. I love Pat Mahomes. I mean, Pat Mahomes is amazing.
Absolutely.
But there's just something different about Joe Burrow that makes him, like, to me, more likable than Pat Mahomes. And I don't know if it's that, like, the way that he is, like his charisma. I don't know if that's a good word. I use the word moxie, but like, yeah, smoking the big cigar. Like, I just have that picture ingrained in my mind. Absolutely. Like Joe Burrow just chilling there, like smoking a cigar after the game, saying, "I got this." You know what I mean?
I got it.
It's just badass.
It is. He's a cool guy. Look, let's just be honest though. We're talking Patrick Mahomes. We're talking Tyreek Hill. We're talking Travis Kelce. We're talking Andy Reid. Big Red. I just don't think that it's enough in Cincinnati. You know, they have actually the Eagles were ranked the 17th defense in the NFL this past year scoring wise. The Bengals are 18th. There's a reason, you know, the Bengals defense isn't quite there yet. The Bengals offensive line, how many times was Joe Burrow sacked last week? 9 times. Okay. We're in the championship round here. Okay. The AFC championship game. That offensive line, that defense will be the reason that they just can't get it done. In my opinion, I just don't see how, you know, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid don't have a game plan ready to make sure that they can outscore this team. That Andy Reid doesn't have that defense, you know, all over Joe Burrow, you know, and especially you got some veterans like Mathieu, you know, and stuff like that in the secondary. That if Joe Burrow's, you know, throwing the ball under pressure, you know, picks can happen and stuff like that. So it is a big moment. I don't think he'll crumble under the big moment, but Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, these guys have made their reputation on being able to handle the look at how they handled the big moment last week against Buffalo. Backs against the wall, and their defense kept letting up those scores, and they're still every time the Bills threw a jab, the Chiefs came with a roundhouse. You know what I mean? And knocked them down. So it's just not that the Bengals aren't good enough or don't belong here or any of those things, or they're too young. It's just the Chiefs are just that good. They're just that good.
Chiefs are 8-2 at home, including the playoff win. So, Bengals are 6-4, I believe, or no, 6-3 on the road. So they both have good records in the respective ways that they're playing. You mentioned the Bengals defense being 19th ranked. I mean, don't forget the Chiefs rank is 27th.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I think it's going to be a shootout. I really believe that. I mean, I know I was pretty close to my score on the last game, but I got obviously the teams wrong. I had the Bills winning 42-35, and I think Chiefs won 42-36.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be a shootout because I don't think either defense is going to be able to stop the other team's offense.
I agree. So I got the Chiefs winning the game. I'll be honest. So I'll make my prediction on this game right now. I got the Chiefs 38-31, just under the cover. So the Bengals I got predicted to cover. I wouldn't bet the Bengals to cover. I would try to, if you're betting, man, find an alternate spread somewhere, maybe bump it up to, plus 8.5 or plus 9.5, or lower it from 7.5 down to 6.5 or 5.5 for the Chiefs, whatever. But I just think experience will win out in the end. And the big moment Mahomes, I'm gonna coin that. It's big moment Mahomes. That's my new nickname for him. I just think it'll just be too much. The experience will win out in this moment. Maybe in another year or two, Burrow might have those big moments in him, but I just don't think this is the year for them yet.
Well, as much as I've been gushing about the Bengals and Joe Burrow, I have to admit I agree with you. I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I'm picking my score is going to be 35-28. I think it's I agree. I think at the end of the day, Pat Mahomes gets it done. But I think Joe Burrow will have a superstar type game. I think he's going to, he'll go off, but obviously in the end he's going to lose. But that's not a knock on Joe Burrow. It's
right.
His second year. Like I said, I think a lot of times people forget, because we're so enamored with all these elite young quarterbacks that we're like, oh my God. But don't forget, there's only a few of them. You got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and out of that group, Pat Mahomes is still the best.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
the ringleader. So,
all right, and just so you know, George, I don't know what's with people saying that I give Andy Reid too much credit. You say that. You got Mark saying that he's overrated. I don't know. Andy Reid. I mean,
he deserves credit.
4 straight NFC championships.
He deserves credit.
He deserves credit. He is a top 5 coach. Potentially, when all is said and done, if he gets one more Super Bowl, definitely there will be no argument that he's a top 5 coach of all time.
Phil.
It just can't be.
Phil, how can people look at those 4 NFC championships that he did make in a row and look at that team?
Just a long time. Even if you take that out of the equation, just the fact from what McNabb was 99, so 2000 to for 8-9 years straight, we were we were in contention every single year, and the Chiefs once he went there every single year.
We made 5 NFC championships overall, 4 in a row. And don't forget the one in 2008, we almost beat Warner and the Cardinals. We would have went to the Super Bowl.
Everybody blames Donovan for all the losses. That was on the defense. Donovan actually led the comeback drive. And then I believe it was Brian Dawkins that got burned by Larry Fitzgerald for that big touchdown that the Cardinals then went on to win with less than 2 minutes left. So, hey, look, it's debatable. Yeah, he deserves credit for his coaching tree alone. Absolutely. I mean, Doug Peterson. That's all I got to say about his coaching tree. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl for us right here.
Listen, look, I think a lot of people
to address George. I think it's debatable if he's top 5 right now. If he's not top 5, he's 6th or 7th max.
If he wins another Super Bowl, he's top 5.
Another Super Bowl. I don't think it's debatable that he's top 5, in my opinion. The fact that he's got one title is the only thing that keeps him out of the top 5, in my opinion.
I think a lot of the reason people hate Andy Reid, I don't want to use the word hate because that's a strong word. I think a lot of the reasons people are down on Andy Reid, or they like to say that he's overrated, is because he's not necessarily the most likable person. Obviously his press conferences, he wasn't super, super friendly. And I also believe that a lot of people look at the fact, because I see Howard Eskin leading that ring as far as the hate towards, Howard Eskin, and Angelo Cataldi. WIP is the reason why a lot of people are against Andy Reid, because they like to drive that narrative that, he has bad players on his team. Stop. Yeah. Every team has bad players on their team, okay? Mm-hmm. Stop saying that Andy Reid harbors criminals because Tyreek Hill is on the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, Would you not want Tyreek Hill on the Eagles? Shut up. Those people that say that, it's it makes me sick, because it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it.
Hey, anyway.
Contradiction. If Tyreek Hill was on the Eagles, you would absolutely be cheering for him. Yeah. So that's why.
I'm not saying you hate him. I'm not saying you hate him, George. I'm more just debating the fact that, that I just have him ranked a little bit higher than you do on your all-time list. Yeah, that'll be an all-season topic. We'll rank our all-time, head coaches in football and see where where they rank and stuff like that. All right, we got to get on to the next football game here already because time is flying by here this morning on Trending in the AM. 49ers, Rams in L.A. Matthew Stafford has finally gotten the monkey off his back and won 2 playoff games now. That was his big knock on his career. Great regular season quarterback, 0-3 in the playoffs. He's gotten 2 big wins this playoff run so far. The 49ers, on the other side of the equation, are the prototypical poster boy for culture and trenches and average quarterbacks taking a team far. Because let's be honest, Jimmy Garoppolo is not an elite quarterback, not even remotely close to a top 10 quarterback. I wouldn't even have him in my top 15 quarterbacks in the league. But here he is, game manager, system quarterback, working with the system that's put around him by Kyle Shanahan. Strong running game, utilizing Deebo Samuel the right way in the backfield on screens, everything you could do. Great defense. Then you got the Rams and Matthew Stafford and probably the best wide receiver in football in Cooper Kupp. You throw in OBJ. You got running backs all over, another running back by committee place there. And you got a great defense in LA. You got Von Miller, you got Aaron Donald, you got Ramsey, and that's just the start of it. So how do you see this game playing out there, Jason?
I honestly, I think this is going to be the closer of the 2 games. I think it's definitely the analytics side of me wants to think that it's going to be a lower scoring game because I think San Francisco's defense. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like kind of like a heavyweight battle, like where they kind of like in the beginning of the game, they're trying to find out what each other team is going to do as far as strategy. You know what I mean? Like those kind of games where they're kind of start off slow and then in the second half kind of takes off. Mm-hmm. It's funny because we look at the Rams and we think about how they're a high-powered offense, but the 49ers actually have more yards per game. Mm-hmm. The 49ers are the 8th ranked team and the Rams are the 9th ranked offense. So the Niners, even though they're getting it done in a much less name value way as far as like superstars, they're still getting it done because they run the ball and they pass the ball. So they have both kind of facets. But don't underestimate the Rams running game because down the stretch, Sony Michel was a key factor for that team kind of turning it around. If you remember, there was quite a few games there where people were down on the Rams and they were saying, Rams are going to choke again and Matt Stafford stinks. But they kind of got that turned around down the stretch the last couple of games and then, in this last playoff game. Now, I know Cam Akers was kind of featured in the last game, which kind of surprised me. I get the fact that he's coming back from an injury, but I think if McVay was smart, he would still use Sony Michel a lot more, but it didn't work out that way in the last playoff game. They featured Akers almost, the entire game. That kind of shocked me. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a close game. I really do. I'm waiting to hear who you pick because I don't know.
The thing that I'm struggling with right now in thinking this game out, and I wrote down and crossed off like 4 different score predictions for this game already. It's the Rams, their offense, it's high-powered. The 49ers have a great defense, obviously. The thing is, what did you say at the start? The 49ers have won, 6 straight games against the Rams or something like that?
Yes.
Hey, how long can that go on? How many times has one team beaten the same team 3 times in a season? Everything tells me the Rams are the better team. But everything else tells me that the 49ers should have the advantage because they've had the success against this team. They've had the success against McVay. But eventually that success has to run out. So I keep going back and forth. What wins out? What the history tells me, which is the 49ers have McVay's number. That Matthew Stafford has already won 2 games and he's never won a game in the playoffs anyway. Can he keep this run going? I'm so torn on what to think. Yeah, law of averages says Rams win. Exactly. And that's like, I want to predict the 49ers to win so bad. I want to predict it to be a 21-17 or 24-21 type game so bad. But something tells me that that's not the way it's going to play out.
Yeah, here's where I'm at. I think the determining factor for me that's kind of swaying where I'm at and where I'm going to be with my final prediction is, I talked about the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection. Well, Matt Stafford's got that same connection with Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp is the best right now. Like, we talk about Devontae Adams.
45 catches, 1,947 receiving yards, and 16 touchdowns. Let me repeat that. 145 catches for 1,947 yards and 16 touchdowns.
191 targets. Like,
it's insane.
That's sick. Almost 200 targets. So he's been targeted.
I think I got him in the DSM Fantasy League in the third or fourth round. I got Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that'll never happen again.
Yeah, he's going first round next year.
Talk about a guy that I don't want to say came out of nowhere because he's been on the radar, but he was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Which just shows you Devontae Adams was a second-round pick. And you see that a lot with these receivers where many receivers that are drafted high end up being busts. Remember Corey Davis? Now, I wouldn't say he's a bust, but he hasn't been an elite top-tier guy.
Right.
And he was drafted like 7th. Mm-hmm. Like, Jamar Chase, to me, is not the norm. Jamar Chase, is like, one of those guys that's kind of going against the grain. But if you look at a lot of these star receivers, they're drafted a little bit later, second, third round. So kudos to Cooper Kupp. And that's where I'm at with this. I think the connection that Matt Stafford has with Cooper Kupp, I think ultimately the Rams are too much for the Niners. My prediction, I'm going to give you a score prediction right now. I'm going 27-24. Rams are going to win. It's going to be close, though.
You're still keeping it close and all.
Yes.
And I just keep coming down to, this statement exactly right here. Law of averages says Rams win. Law of averages say that hold on, let me pull the scores back up here from the last time. I know one game was 31-10 49ers. In week 10, the 49ers won 31-10 against the Rams. And then in week 18, they won 27-24. So the Rams have not won. They've even been blown out by this 49ers team. And I just can't see it happening. That Rams defense is elite. It really is. And the 49ers offense just isn't.
You got to remember, though, they've lost 6 in a row, and they did get blown out. But don't forget, that was week 10. That's when the Rams were struggling. Down the stretch, you said it. They only lost 27-24. It was a very close game. Niners won. But like I said, I think being at home, I know that doesn't have as much as far as because a lot of people travel to the Rams. I know they don't get like the home field advantage that a lot of other teams get. But I think being in front of that crowd, I think, I said, I mentioned already Cooper Kupp, but you mentioned it. The Rams defense, as much as they might not have been, they might have been middle of pack numbers wise, but they have those pedigree guys like Von Miller, dude. He comes out in the playoffs. He always shows out. Like, he might not be a regular season guy anymore as far as like he's getting older, but I think that's why they brought him to the Rams. Like,
absolutely,
he's a motor, man. And then Aaron Donald, like, talk about a guy that probably is already a Hall of Famer. Like, Aaron Donald's just a beast. And then
you got the best cornerback in the league in Jalen Ramsey. Look, I know Casey's saying here that McVay's numbers had by Shanahan there, and that very may well true. And my prediction may be so wrong. And if the Rams lose this game, I will join the group of people. I'm not against saying this, but there's a lot of people that say that Sean McVay is an overrated coach. Well, let's be honest. He got Jared Goff to the Super Bowl. If they didn't win, but he got Jared Goff to the Super Bowl, and they're one game away from another Super Bowl, all with no first-round picks for 47 years in a row. So McVay, while he may be a little bit overrated, maybe not, he's still a strong coach. He still has strong gameplay. I mean, and all that. I'm going to say, and I know this might be a little bold, I got the Rams winning 31-14. I do not think it's a close game. I've been trying to convince myself otherwise. I've been trying to convince myself that the 49ers win. I want the 49ers to win. Look, I look at when the Eagles are out of it, I look at also, and I may, George says he's overrated too. He very, and I may change my opinion if he falls flat on his face this week. Look, I always root for the Super Bowl that brings the best business to my pizza shop. I want my pizza shop to be busy on Super Bowl Sunday, and it always is busy. But you put certain teams in the Super Bowl, and it just makes it that much better. I think a 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl brings me more business than a Rams Chiefs Super Bowl. But I just can't predict that. You know, the Chiefs will bring people into order because everybody either wants to root for or against Andy Reid, you know, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I got to block these spam users that are chiming in on YouTube. I spend more time every single morning blocking users on YouTube than I do actually talking on the show.
Well, I think not to cut you off, but I think the most exciting Super Bowl would be out of these 4 teams would be the Rams Chiefs. I mean,
because you have 2 offenses, you can score. You got Big Red, always draws attention. You know, you got the Rams. You got people that are, you know, you got LA versus KC. You got a big market in LA. Look, that would obviously bring the best for me business wise. Well, actually, the 49ers, 49ers bring the best business wise. You know, just because there are people that are still 49ers fans from the Joe Montana. Look, my brother's a huge 49ers fan because of the Joe Montana era and stuff like that. But the Rams, you know, Rams Bengals for George. I said it at the beginning of the show, and he'll say it again. I just don't know if the Bengals can beat the Chiefs. I just don't. I don't know. We'll see. I personally, as a football fan, would love to see the Bengals in the Super Bowl, but I just don't think they do it. I'm going Rams 31-14. They get over the hump against Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers. The offense just is too much for them, I think. I think the offense is clicking just right now. And they got a lot of confidence the last 2 weeks with, you know, Matthew Stafford as he gets that monkey off his back, getting more and more confident himself in the playoffs. I think they got it. I think we're getting a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl.
Well, dude, and I'll actually enjoy that because I'm not going to lie. I'm actually – I said I'm rooting for Joe Burrow, which I am. It would be super awesome to see Joe Burrow win a Super Bowl, and the Bengals for that matter, because they've never won. But there's a guy that I really want to see win a Super Bowl because I love him, and like he gets a lot of disrespect, and that's Matt Stafford. Like honestly,
I think he gets the fair amount of disrespect because he hasn't before this year,
and it's fine
for 12, 13
like
years.
To see him win.
Yeah,
playing on a bad team. The Lions. Not 6 of those 9 or whatever, however long
he's
been
in Cup now, but he had Megatron before. So
yeah,
I mean,
he had Megatron in the beginning of his career, and that's all he had. He didn't have
Burrow.
Like
Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase in the beginning of his career, and he's doing just fine.
Listen, Matt Stafford put up the numbers.
There's a lot of quarterbacks that put up regular season.
But you need a team around you, Phil. The Lions were terrible. Look at the Lions' defense. The Lions' defense has not been relevant in probably 30 years since they played the Eagles.
I wish I had balloons to put up on the screen.
He agrees with me?
Yeah.
Whoa! No, thanks. No, I'm happy because I'm serious, man. I know what you're saying, Phil, and I get it. But if you really looked at everyone wants to say, oh, he had Megatron. Yeah, that was it. He didn't. It's not like he had what Joe Burrow has. Joe Burrow's got a great defense, too. Don't forget, the Bengals have been bad so long, and they've drafted well. That's why the Bengals are in the position they're in. It's not just because of Joe Burrow.
It's fair.
Matt Stafford, I'll agree. He deserved a little bit of backlash.
I just think that people give him too much of a pass. They give him a pass because of that. An elite quarterback should elevate the team.
I'm not giving him a pass, but what I am saying is it has something to do with it.
That's fair. That's fair. It has something to do with it.
Did Dan Marino win a Super Bowl, Phil? And is Dan Marino considered one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time? A lot of people have him as the top 5 quarterback of all time.
He's not top 5.
Phil, a lot of people have him there.
Yeah, I'm saying, and I'm just saying, though, that's wrong. I mean, he would barely probably make my top 10 list, Dan Marino, because of his lack of success in the big games. And I'm old enough to say I've watched Dan Marino play. I actually, it was unfortunate. I accidentally went on a cruise when I was a kid. My family took me on a cruise, and it just happened to be the Miami Dolphins team cruise, and they were there. So I met Don Shula. Unfortunately, Dan Marino bailed at the last second, and his backup, he went to Detroit to be a quarterback. Scott Mitchell, he was a lefty quarterback. He took Dan Marino's spot on the cruise. I met Mark Duper. I met a whole bunch of the offensive and defensive players on that cruise. I was like 12 years old, 13 years old on this cruise. And, so I have plenty of Dolphins love. And we watched a lot of Dolphins in my family because my dad was stationed in Miami in the Coast Guards back in the 60s. So he was, late 60s or 80s. So he was a big Dolphins fan from his 2-3 years stationed in Miami. So we watched Dolphins football. We watched Dan Marino, and I know he's a great quarterback. But sometimes you got to give people the flack when they just can't get it done in the big game. We give Donovan McNabb how much flack in the city because he couldn't get it done in the big game. And Donovan McNabb, outside of the 1 year with T.O., he never had any weapons.
It's
but yet
it's one thing to give somebody flack. It's another thing to constantly harp on someone and say that they're way overrated. You got to look at the situations. Like I said,
look at the Eagles situation. It's a similar situation. Donovan McNabb elevated the players.
I disagree. Eagles had an elite defense. They had an elite defensive coordinator. Detroit Lions, dude, I'm telling you. Talk to your buddy Jason.
Let me tell you something. If the Rams win and they make the Super Bowl, I guarantee at least once, if not twice, we will get Jason on a morning show to do, a Matthew Stafford episode where we just talk about Matthew Stafford non-time. Because obviously, Jason Sullivan, my fantasy golf partner, Fairway to Heaven on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Don't miss it. He's lived and breathed Detroit Lions football his whole life, which is unfortunate, and it's a sad thing to have to say. But he's the best expert I could bring on to talk about Matthew Stafford, and I will bring him on.
I want that because
I will make it happen
because I know he'll be honest about it because he's a fan.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's an honest fan now. But yeah, like I said, I just still think that the Rams get over the hump. Matthew Stafford proves me wrong, gets to his Super Bowl, and yeah, I mean, I just think the Rams, the law of averages, as George said, wins out here, and the Rams win. Rams, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The Rams playing at home for the Super Bowl. That's the way it's going to play out. No doubt in my mind. Prediction sure to go wrong, right?
Hey, we've been pretty good with our predictions. Both
have been pretty spot on for the most part. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's no doubt about that. All right. So real quick, we got about 12 minutes left of the show. It is Football Friday. We have spent the first 48 minutes talking football, but I want to talk a little Sixers. Obviously, they won last night against the Lakers. Joel Embiid named an All-Star. But I want to bring up on the screen here this video. The real fireworks of the show happened before the game even started when good old Shaquille O'Neal, he calls out Ben Simmons without saying Ben Simmons' name, but clearly does not hide that he's calling out Ben Simmons. And I want to make sure we play this video, and I would love to get your thoughts on Shaquille O'Neal and how he calls out Ben Simmons here. So I'm going to play this. Let's see if this works.
I stay on big guys because I care about them. I want them to play a certain way. I want them to play at a certain level. The difference between him and his soft partner is he can take criticism without being a crybaby, and he still wants to play. Because me and Charles, we've been on him. We stay on him. We tell him to his face what he needs to do. He didn't cry. He didn't say, I want to be traded. He didn't, complain about mistreatment. And that's the difference. That's why I like and respect him. The other guy don't respect him. And think about it. You're missing a whole season because they ask your coach a question, can we win without you? And your coach gave a funny answer. That should tell you need to get in the summertime and work on your game. You don't think I haven't been criticized by you guys and Stephen A? You don't think I haven't been criticized by the LA media, New York media? Great players get criticized, but the great players also step up to the criticism and perform. So this other guy, I don't respect him. I would get rid of him.
Yes. All right.
I love it.
As I'm rewatching that for the fourth time, and it's Football Friday, we can also draw a comparison. So that was him calling out Ben Simmons, obviously, and Joe he criticizes Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid gets better. Okay. I got you, Casey. So Joel Embiid got better. Ben Simmons did not. Ben Simmons took his tail between his legs and left. We could compare that with the Eagles too. Carson Wentz couldn't handle the criticism. He wanted out. Jalen Hurts. We're going to see how he handles the criticism and whether he gets better or not. So I just want to know your thoughts, the initial statements and the initial things that went on there. But also comparing it to the Eagles and their quarterback situation as well. Am I wrong to think that that's a possible correlation there to the way he's talking there?
Well, my first initial thoughts of the first on the video, the interview, I think Shaq is absolutely spot on. I couldn't agree with him more. I think I'm absolutely happy that he came out and did it because I think more people should be burying Simmons the way that he's acted. I think if anybody knows, like when you have former athletes that have played the game, it's not like just us, like you and me, coming out and criticizing Ben Simmons. This is Shaquille O'Neal, like an all-time great. You had Charles Barkley already call him out. Like two guys that know the game, and they've tried. I mean, according to him, he's tried with Simmons and Embiid has gotten better and has rose to the occasion, while the other guy has been, in his words, a crybaby. So I think it's awesome. I love it. I'm sure,
Yeah,
it says a lot to me about Joel Embiid because I remember just a short 2 years ago, a lot of people were curious as to whether Joel Embiid would go to the next level.
Mhm.
And like, as far as his maturity, not as a player necessarily, we all knew that he had it in him as far as
Right.
talent, but like being a leader. And I've seen that in the last 2 years, the maturity and the maturation of Embiid has been like an art.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to watch, like as a fan, especially a fan like me who I'm not super knowledgeable about basketball, but I'm going to tell you right now, Joel Embiid has revived my passion for a sport that I really don't know much about. And
Right.
I love it, dude. I'm watching Sixers games. Like I haven't watched the Flyers game.
But it also is because the Flyers suck.
Well,
so
yeah,
bad.
but I'm just saying
that might have something to do with it as well. Look, you bring up an interesting thing about how, Joel, he's grown as a leader. We all knew he had the elite talent and stuff like that. You look at last night, they beat the Lakers 105-87. It was close at points, but the Sixers fairly dominated the game. LeBron James, late scratch, didn't play, obviously, hurt the Lakers. But Joel Embiid had, he's on this amazing run right now. The last 15, 20 games, amazing stretch of basketball. He had a bad game last night. Struggled guarding Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a little quicker than him. He shot poorly. He was 0 for 5 from 3. He's a lights out free throw shooter. He was 8 of 13 from the free throw line. Had 4 turnovers. He didn't have typical elite dominant Joel Embiid's game, but you're still in all of them when you watch him play, because even when it's not going his way, he's out there giving 110% of the effort. He's encouraging his teammates. He's helping his teammates. I mean, he had a shooting night. He's a center. He's a 7'2" center. He had 7 assists last night because his shot wasn't falling. So he was finding other ways to get his teammates involved. But yet you got Ben Simmons, who, and I like to compare Ben Simmons to Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey's 21 in his second year. Obviously a COVID-shortened last season. No offseason as a rookie last year. Tyrese Maxey went out and he made that statement 1% better every day. And guess what he does? He gets better every single game. Ben Simmons or Tyrese Maxey has already grown, matured, and improved his game in one short season than Ben Simmons has in 4 or 5 seasons. His whole career. Yeah. But yet, Shaq calling him out. I love that Shaq calls him out like that. I made a statement last night when I shared that video on Twitter that we all saw that video, but did Ben Simmons see that video? No, because Ben Simmons doesn't care. Ben Simmons probably isn't even watching the game or TNT or anything like that. He's gaming at home in his gamer chair, and he don't care. Until he's on another team, he is so checked out of basketball. And it's crazy. And I applaud Shaq for saying it. And not just saying it, but he did it in a respectful way. It wasn't like
he didn't come out and bury the guy as far as like he wasn't nasty about it.
He wasn't nasty about it. He buried the guy.
He was honest.
He was, but he was in an honest, fair way. So I think it's great. I applaud that because like I said, Joel Embiid accepts the criticism. Tyrese Maxey working on his game every single day. Tobias Harris was getting booed. I called it the clapback heard around the world when he clapped at the fans for making a shot, cheering him when he made a shot. Well, Tobias Harris, the last 3 or 4 games, slowly turning back into the Tobias Harris of before. 10 of 15 shooting last night. Quick shots, not hesitating, confident. 23 points last night. 4 assists, 5 rebounds, a couple steals. Tobias Harris, again, a strong game. Look, you could take criticism and make yourself better, or you could take criticism and just take your ball and go home. And that's what Ben Simmons done. And yeah, I mean, I'm surprised on a national channel, like on a pregame show like that, they went that long and let that drawn out on it like Shaq did. But I applaud him for doing it. And I just wish something would click in Ben Simmons' head.
It's not
I
going
just wish,
to.
but it's not going to.
It's a
It's going to be
shame.
crazy when he goes to another city. Because even another city, if he goes to, say, Sacramento, which I still think a trade with Sacramento happens before February 10th. If he goes to Sacramento, it's obviously not a major media network or media city. It's not going to have the pressure of Philadelphia. But there still are reporters in Sacramento that do their job. There still are fans in Sacramento. He is going to be asked his first day in Sacramento comments about the Sixers. And I guarantee all he says is, no comment. I'm here to talk about Sacramento now and move forward. He won't address it at all.
I have an interesting opinion on it. I think Ben Simmons is so checked out from basketball in general, and I think that he doesn't have that moxie, to the fact that even if he is traded or when he's traded, I think he's going to be one of these guys that's out of the league in like 2 or 3 years and just doesn't even like basketball anymore. He seems like that kind of person that will just say,
questions about his
basketball.
There have been questions about that dating back to college, about his passion of basketball. You know what I mean? There have been questions for that for a long time. Whether he checks out of the league in 2 years, I don't know. There's so much money to be made. But yeah, he does not have that passion for the game like other people do.
It sucks because he has the talent.
Yeah. He just doesn't have the. Yeah.
He could be so much better.
You have to have passion. That's a great comment too, because you have to have the passion for the game to want to put the work in to get better at the game. If you have no passion, it's basketball to him. It's just like a job for you. You punch in and you punch out at the end of the day, and that's all it is for him. You need to have passion to spend 30 minutes after practice working on your free throw shot. Spend passion showing up a little early to the gym to get an extra workout in. Passion to take your laptop home from work and study some game film instead of. I know I'm not trying to say you can't have a life outside of basketball. That's not what I'm saying. Spend a little extra time working on game film, a little less time gaming. In your gaming. I've seen pictures of his gaming setup in his basement or wherever in his place. And that's fine. He can game all he wants. 5 less minutes, 5 more minutes on game film. That's all. You have to have passion,
Phil,
to do that.
You just nailed it. And you're the epitome of passion. Look what you do with podcasting. Like, you're always trying to get better. And I'm the same way. Like, I go back and watch every show that I do, and I try to critique it. And what can I do to get better? You'll never see Ben Simmons doing that with basketball. He just doesn't.
It's not like, I'm not saying he doesn't have to have a life outside of it.
No, but he doesn't have a passion.
Look, I still watch TV with my wife. We still watch other things. We go out. We take vacations. We do things. I put my phone away sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes I put my phone away. Sometimes. You got to have some passion to put the work in. I'm just sorry. I'm looking out my window. My grass is starting to get covered now outside. Yeah, you can't see over my shoulder there. There's a wicked.
I'm looking at mine.
Okay. I thought you were trying to see out my window through the computer screen. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it works like that, bro.
I got jerseys in my way.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but dude,
they're just there to cover the glare.
Dude, it's passion. I think that was like the perfect word, because it's true. It's drive. It's wanting to get better. Like, and you're right. If you don't have that, people could critique you all they want. You're not going to get better. It's just like being at a job that you hate. Because I've been there. I've been in jobs, or maybe not necessarily a job, but a position or a company where I was just unhappy. And, they could tell your boss could tell you till they're blue in the face, oh, you're struggling with this, blah, blah, blah. If you don't have it in you, it won't matter, because you're just not going to you don't care. That's really what it comes down. I don't want to say that Ben Simmons doesn't care about other things in his life, but he doesn't seem to care about basketball. Because if he did, this would not be where we're at right now. It would not. He might still want to be traded, but there would be a lot more. You would be seeing things like from him, as far as him in the gym, and you'd be seeing a real desire to want to fix.
He's not even trying to work on his game right now, so that when he gets traded, he's ready to go. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I still, like I said, I still think a deal gets done by February 10th. It's a shame it hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it does. Again, I don't want to talk about Ben Simmons. I want to congratulate Joel Embiid, his 5th All-Star, nominate or starting role. I would have loved to have seen him get a captain's nod so he could have picked James Harden with his first pick, just for that fun, talk right there. But yeah, congratulations to Joel Embiid. Congratulations to the Sixers on another win. And congratulations to Jason and I for another successful episode of Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media, live, like we say all the time, every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Next week for the show, we've got Mark Muscatelli joining me for Overreaction Monday, and then Jason will be here 4 days next week instead of 3, 4 days next week. I called his work and said, make him work nights. I know he doesn't like working nights, but make him work nights so I get him as much as possible. So next week, we'll start the Super Bowl talk more Sixers, basketball. We'll talk baseball. I'm sure will be more updates on the labor meetings, agreements, whatever it will be with baseball. We'll get back into that. Maybe the Flyers win a game by the end of next week. I don't know. Doubtful at this point. But another great day, another great show, another great week of Trending in the AM. Thank you all to who tune in and share it out and support this show. We've had some great viewership this week on YouTube. So I greatly appreciate that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're brought to you as all shows on DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com, promo code DSM, 20% off and free shipping. Jason, have a great Friday. And everybody that has to go out today in the Philadelphia area, be safe. The weather is going to be nasty. Whether you get 3 inches, 1 inch, or 10 inches, it's going to be nasty out there. So be safe driving. Call your local pizza shop and let them deliver your pizza.
Absolutely.
Hey.
And as always,
go Birds!
Go Birds!